guys and gals, it's Steph with Tiny's Garden, and today I'm coming to you with my Johnny's seed haul. One of my favorite videos of the year. I've got 41 varieties to go through with you today. So grab a pen, grab a paper, buckle up, let's go. I'm going to be sharing with you today these in order of when I will start them inside for my cut flower garden in the spring. Here is all the information that a Johnny seed packet will give you. Very valuable. I love their seed packets because of this. It's really helpful, especially if you're just starting out. So look at the back of the packet. It will guide you. Let it be your guide. So be sure to Google when your last frost date is in the spring before you do anything. That's really important. So you have that date and can count back the number of weeks so you know when to start your seeds. Spring. So for example, I'm going to start with all my Lisianthus varieties because I start that first in January. Lisianthus takes a full 6 months from starting the seed to an actual bloom. It's usually the first one that you will start for your cut flower garden. I'm going to start there and then work my way with some cold hardy annuals down through some summer annual picks as well. So, are you ready? Lisianthus! Love Lisianthus! She's throwing things, she's too excited. Calm her down, calm her down. I ordered a lot of Lisianthus this year because I had my best year with Lisianthus last year. Yes, that's for real. It's a very finicky flower to grow, notoriously difficult. Some people think it's fairly easy. I have found in my experience the first year, I think out of 50 seeds, I got 4 or 5 to actually transplant into the garden and grow. So you have to be very attentive to them. It's totally doable to grow them. Last year was much better. I think I had 30 of 60. So much higher rate, about 50% made it out into the garden and grew, and my goodness, they are just the most beautiful. Check out this Lisianthus. Have you ever seen something so perfect? I personally love the challenge of growing them. I think it makes it all the more fulfilling when you see that Lisianthus bloom in the summer. Some people don't even bother with it, or they'll order plugs, which is also an option. I like the challenge of growing them. I suggest trying it. If you decide it's too much, you don't have to do it next year. Varieties, we have Rosanne Brown. This is my first year growing this specific variety, but I know Nicole from Flower Hill Farm loves it, so I wanted to give it a try. I do like that unique kind of vintagey color, so it'll be exciting to see it in person. Doubilini White. I had good luck with these this year. They're more petite and a really nice little addition to a bouquet. I enjoy them. They're not as showy as some of the other varieties of Lisianthus, but nevertheless, I still grow them. Oh, we're getting into my favorites. Voyage to Light Apricot. Can you with this color? Because I can't. I had Voyage to White last year. I did not have the apricot, but I love the Arena 3 apricot, and I'm assuming it's a very similar color. The structure is more of a Voyage structure that is a little more, to me, a little more fluffy. I love the Arena 3 apricot so much, which is my next variety I have. This was my favorite Lisianthus. If I had to pick one, I believe it would be this one. Just a stunning flower. The color, the form, beautiful. Oh, I forgot about Rosanne Black Pearl. This one is also stunning. I didn't have as many of these grow this year, but my first year, this was one of the ones that really took off for me, and it is gorgeous. I think it's a color you don't see in the garden that often. It's a beautiful shade of purple, but it's not an in-your-face purple. It's not obnoxious. It's almost slightly vintagey, but still really saturated. I've got a picture from my garden. I will put one up because it's one of my favorites that I've ever grown. I got more Voyage to White. This one was beautiful and bloomed for me all the way through October, and I actually think I still have a bloom. It's November 5th, I believe, and I still have a Lisianthus bloom. So they've done really beautifully. The White Voyage is a nice hardy variety. Put it on your list. And Voyage to Champagne. This is the Voyage to Champagne Lisianthus, and it's so gorgeous how it just has that tinge of champagne. And I also have these in the garden, just beautiful. That champagne apricot-y color I just really enjoyed in the Lisianthus. I think it's my favorite hue. Besides the black pearl, that's a beautiful one too. So grow them, check them out for yourself, see what you gravitate toward, but my goodness. I love to have a full bed of them, and my beds are 4 feet by 7.5 feet, and I had about half a bed last year. So if I can double up like I did the first year and have more germinate and make it out into the garden, I will reach that goal. So good luck to you with your Lisianthus, and I will try to do the same. Next we have Delphinium Magic Fountains Mix. These I will sow 10 to 16 weeks before my last frost date. And here's the deal with Delphinium. I have not gotten one to grow from winter sowing, which is how I have sown them the past 2 years, which is where you're taking an empty milk carton or juice box, putting dirt in it, planting the seed, poking holes so that some water can get through, and then leaving them out for the winter for them to grow in the spring. It doesn't work for me. I think it's me. I don't think it's the method, because I know plenty of people who do really well with it, but I have not had good results, and I'm sure it's on my end. So I'm gonna try this differently this year. No winter sowing for me. I'm gonna take the time that I do that and try and do it a different way. I might even experiment with putting a few in the ground and seeing if they survive the winter, which here our zone is 5B, so it's definitely questionable, but otherwise I can start these inside in a cell tray and transplant them out fairly early. So we'll see how it goes. I only got one, and we'll see how this one works. Now on to two of my favorite cold hardy annuals, Snapdragons and Sweet Peas. I'm going to go over Snapdragons first. I'm going to attempt to put them in order of the ones I love toward the ones that are okay for me. I am trying to scale back this year, as I have 41 seed packets lying in front of me with other places, but I am trying to hold myself back a little more with what I'm planting and plant things I really love. Snapdragons will be started inside 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost date, starting with my favorite, Costa Apricot. Costa Apricot, I think I'm calling it now my favorite Snapdragon in the cut flower garden this year. A beautiful Snapdragon. It was my first year with it this year, and I will grow it every year. It is a soft yellow center with a slight pink around it as well. Few Snapdragons there with the yellow centers. That is my favorite of the year, Costa Apricot. I love it way more than I even imagined I would. It is stunning. It is just a little bit ahead of Appleblossom. Still very beautiful, the same form as the Costa Apricot, except more of a soft pink. Beautiful. I just love that yellow and pinkish a little bit more, but Appleblossom is a stunner as well. You can't go wrong with either of those. Then we get into some Madamce. I love the Madamce structure. It's just a little more frilly than a regular Potomac Snapdragon. They're quite different, both beautiful forms. The Madame Butterfly Red I grew 2 years ago, which is number 3. And then the Madame Butterfly Bronze with White I also have grown, and it's gorgeous. I didn't have the red one this year because I didn't get hands on it, and I missed it so much. It's such a deep saturated hue. Absolutely gorgeous. The bronze with white is still pretty. I just like the red a little bit more, but both of them are a beautiful option for Madame Butterfly Snapdragons. Then we have Potomac Orange. This was a first for me this year. I don't love orange tones, but this was pretty. Not my favorite, not at the front, but enough of a like that I would grow it again. Then I have 3 I have not grown before, 3 new varieties. The first one is Potomac Red. Simple Potomac Red I have not grown. I've grown the Madame version, so we'll see how the regular Potomac Red is for me. We also have Potomac Yellow, another new one. And Potomac Lavender. I'm curious about this one because I'm really curious about what color that's gonna really look like in real life, but so far I'm intrigued. Then we have sweet peas. I ordered a lot of sweet peas from Floret, but there were some that I couldn't get my hands on and I wanted a little bit more because I love sweet peas when they're in this ombre of color. I love all of the color with them. So I want to have a very large display of sweet peas this year. And the smell is heavenly, takes you to another place. First we have Royal Mix, then Enchante or Enchante, Elegance Salmon Rose, Elegance Deep Red, and all of those will be a first for me this year. I did try the Royal Mix. It didn't germinate well for me last year. I only got one kind last year to really work for me, so it wasn't a great sweet pea last year, but the first year it was wonderful. So I'm hoping to get back to that and have a stunning array of sweet peas and sweet pea aroma this year. Now we're getting into varieties that are miscellaneous here. This pile will be seeds that you'll start 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. The ones I already covered are really my jam, the Lisianthus, the Snapdragons, and the sweet peas. So I'm going to talk a little less about each of these, but still intrigued enough by all of them, or have grown some of them, or haven't grown some certain varieties that I want to grow, that I bought some. Mahogany Splendor Hibiscus. I do have Mahogany Splendor Hibiscus, one of my favorite fillers without a doubt. I grew it this year for the first time. I had great germination. I had great growth. I always had Mahogany Splendor Hibiscus on hand and I loved it. I grew it in pots, burgundy color all the way down. I grew it in the ground. Both did great for me. I used it in a lot of different bouquets. It's such a beautiful burgundy foliage that it really stands out in a bouquet and also in the background as well. Because it's not a vocal flower, it's a filler, but it's such a unique color and form that it adds to the bouquet, doesn't disappear in it, if that makes sense. Then to Celosia or Celosia, we have Flamingo Feather. I'm gonna have a lot of Flamingo Feather this year. I forgot I bought this one and I got some from Floret as well, but I do really enjoy it. It's a flower that can be dried because of its structure. It is like a bunny tail of pink in a way, and I've enjoyed working it with it this year. I had good luck growing it. Looking forward to having more of it next year. And Sunday Mix. I did not get this to work for me last year. I'm going to make it work this year. And one of my favorite, if not my favorites, of the new things I grew this past year, Black Cherry Dianthus. This is a grouping of the Sweet Cherry Dianthus, or Sweet William, also known as Sweet Black Cherry Dianthus. These smell incredible. It's a tender perennial in zone 6 through 9, but often people grow it as an annual. I will be growing it as an annual here in zone 5B. The deep, almost velvet looking color and texture of this flower are beautiful. I love the smell. It's up there with sweet peas for me. So if you haven't tried Sweet Black Cherry Dianthus, it is worth it. Now we have a pile of seeds that you'll start 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date. 2 straw flowers that are new to me. Here's my stance on straw flowers. I enjoy them. I don't love them. I've grown some red, some purple. I'm getting the names wrong, but essentially a red one, a purple one, and they're pretty. They dry beautifully. My mom loves them when they're dry. I want to try different colors with them and see if I gravitate toward them more. They reseed themselves really well. I have them coming up in my raised beds, in my cut flower bed, so that's not a problem. And I didn't start any this year, and I had several that came up from last year, and I'm in zone 5B. So, king size raspberry rose. Doesn't this color look pretty? I'm thinking the pastel-y colors in this I might gravitate to a little more. An apricot peach, similar, a pastel-y color, still really beautiful. We'll see how I like these colors come this spring. And then Scabiosa. I have 4 Scabiosa. I grew it for the first time last year, had great luck with it. It turned out a lot of blooms for me. I would say that Black Knight is my favorite, almost an iridescent purpley type of color, really deep and saturated, beautiful, beautiful in bouquets. Black Knight I got again this year. Fire King Scabiosa, I also grew this last year. I enjoy the color of it. I like the Black Knight a little more, but it is a beautiful addition to the garden. Salmon Rose Scabiosa, this is going to be a new variety for me, a new color. Interested to see if I prefer the Fire King or the Salmon Rose. I reckon that I will grow one or the other the next year. Fama White, here I'm saying my favorite. I have so many favorites. Black Knight and Fama White are at the head of the pack with Scabiosa. Fama White has a different texture on it than the Black Knight. It has more of a seed head after the petals fall off. It's a little more texturized, a little more fluffy, and oh, I just loved it. It took a while to come into bloom for me, but when it did come into bloom, oh boy, did I take advantage of it. Then we have sunflowers. Sunflowers were an epic fail for me this year. I had them out. I went through the varieties with you. I was getting ready to grow them. I left them outside in the rain. The packets were soaked. It was just a hot mess express moment. So no sunflowers this year. These are the ones I have for next year, and they are Pro Cut Bicolor, Pro Cut Red, Pro Cut Plum, and all the Pro Cuts are pollenless, so you're not having pollen fall out if you put it in a bouquet. A lot of people like them for that reason. And Florenza. I just love the unique coloring of Florenza. I want to see that in my garden. We're down to the last pile. Zinnias, whatever you prefer. It was my first year with zinnias this year, and I'm sold, love them. Such a prolific performer, so easy to grow. You don't have to even start these inside. I did this year, but I might just direct sow them next year. Talk about one of the easiest cut flowers you could grow. If you're a beginner and you're starting out and you're not sure where to start out for summer flowers, zinnias. Benary's Giant Deep Red. My favorite Benary's Giant Salmon Rose. It is my favorite. Gorgeous salmon color. Nice big size. Oh, if you haven't yet, go get you some Benary's Giant Salmon Rose. Fly me to the moon. I hope to have this in my garden every year as long as I'm growing cut flowers. Queen Lime with Blush. Check those beauties out. Gorgeous. A little blush on the outside, purple inside, lime coloring. Stunner. Zowie Yellow Flame. Zowie Yellow Flame was one of my surprise loves this year. It is an in-your-face flower, really unique coloring, but it works in a bouquet. You've got a little pop here and there, and I loved when I used it. Was a great performer for me, easy to grow, lots of blooms. So how about that? Zowie Yellow Flame. It was also a AAS All-American selection winner, so those you know are usually tried and true great varieties to grow. Then finally, 3 Oklahoma varieties. The Oklahomas are smaller, less large than the Benary's Giant. Still wonderful to use in bouquets. I have Oklahoma Scarlet, which is a new one for me this year. Oklahoma Salmon and Oklahoma White, both of which I grew this year. Loved them, had them in my front raised beds. They grew wonderfully there. Nice pop into bouquets here and there, or even like for a little girl, I feel like it's the perfect little bouquet for her. I used them in my niece's bouquet, of course. So just a wonderful addition to the garden. My goodness, we've done it. So that is that, 41 varieties from Johnny's Seeds. As I said before, head online, check them out. I've always had great service with Johnny's. Nothing to complain about. Their seed packets are phenomenal. I hope you enjoyed that, found that helpful. Remember to look at your packets and count back and set your calendar for when you're going to start all of your seeds according to the last frost date. That's important. Get yourself organized before seed starting season starts around January, as I mentioned, and that's everything I have for you today. Thank you for coming along with me. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up like button. Also share this with your friends, any gardener friends you have. I love getting to know more people. If you haven't oh, my dog just ran into the door. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to follow along with all things garden. Happy planting, everybody. Bye.